Workforce. Was that 5 times?
Maybe I'll start with you, Michelle. As you think about for yourself, when you look into the next kind of few years, what are the key trends that you think for Mothercraft that you're really aware of?
What I want to see and what I hope will be the trend is really the elevation of the practice of early childhood education, not only within our sector, but across the broader society. You know, there's places in the world where people really understand and value the role of early childhood educators. Not to say we don't in Canada, but not at the same level. And what I want to see as a trend is to really elevate the work, the profession, the perception of that work for the incredible value that it offers to not only children and their families, but the broader society. It really is a fundamental part of our education system, early childhood, and we need to see the practitioners, the professionals who deliver those services be elevated to the place that they deserve and belong, and compensated appropriately for it as a result.
I think that's a very uncontentious trend and important piece of things. Are there particular strategies that you see or have got in place to help towards that?
Well, for Mothercraft, we've always sort of valued our educators and all of our staff through a comprehensive compensation package. So paying competitive or better wages, ensuring we've got a fulsome, paid time off package, health benefits, pensions, professional learning opportunities, and really a work environment that places great value on the work that they do day in and day out. But as an organization, we're really thinking about the bigger system, always have and always will. And my own personal focus has been to really, in my system level work, push the envelope on the conversation around elevating the practice of ECE and the professionals who actually practice it by talking about things like comp, talking about things about like qualification, talking about roles and responsibilities, talking about how fundamental it is to our fabric as a culture and as a society, and that we got to do better. We just got to do better. And so I put a lot of energy and effort into that, and I plan to continue for quite some time, and I think I'm seeing traction. I mean, COVID really elevated the work of ECE, and with the Canada-wide Early Learning and Childcare Program and the struggles we're all having to find and retain staff, to be able to expand the system to all families and achieve the objectives of that really ambitious program, it can happen without our workforce. So we have to do better. We have to push the envelope on how the work is seen, how it's valued, and how we talk about it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so workforce as a general trend in the changing landscape of that, a fairly uncontentious priority, I would imagine, for everybody. Any other comments?
Yes, ditto, ditto, ditto.
Yeah. I would agree with everything that's being said. I think we'll know we have arrived when we're no longer talking about the environment, the workforce environment. Don't think if you were sitting around with a group of lawyers that they'd be discussing about their benefits and whether or not this is a good work environment. I think that would be a signal that we've achieved that vision that Michelle's talking about. I'd like to think the future about early childhood truly being a destination career, not something that people are passing through, right? That this really is all of that Michelle's talked about. When you've achieved that, then there's a place where you can spend a good part of your career doing different roles within the early childhood sector, but it is a destination career, right? And not one that one is in for a while on their way to do something else. I think those would be two significant signals that we're at that professional environment that we all believe we should be at.
That's really interesting. And so in terms of that destination career, you've got a unique perspective on that, being from George Brown. So how does that come into play in terms of the work that you're doing?
Like Canadian Mothercraft, we're a community, we are a college that both educates and trains future educators with a diploma in early childhood education, with a degree, with an apprenticeship program. And we also operate 12 childcare centers. So we have about 1,000 children in our programs and about 130 staff. I think in the decades I've been involved, I think I can count on one hand the number of people who have left organization to work somewhere else. So if my mother-in-law would be sitting in this panel, God rest her soul, she would say, nobody leaves a good thing. Nobody leaves a good thing. So what kind of environment do you create where people stay, right? Because they learn and grow and have a satisfying career. So those are some of the lessons I think all of us, whether it's the early childhood sector or any sector, need to pause and ponder about, right? What is the environment that really allows someone to stay, learn, grow, contribute, feel valued and be valued?
Janie, any comment on that?
Yeah, absolutely agree with all that has been said. Workforce is the number one challenge that we're facing in trying to expand early learning opportunities for children. It is a bigger challenge than expanding the space without adequate capital funding. There's ways to figure that one out. But without the workforce, without qualified early childhood educators, it's very difficult to even maintain what we have now, let alone expand. There is the YMCA, which is the largest nonprofit provider, largest provider across Canada, operating at 50% capacity right now, and that's because of workforce challenges in finding qualified staff to work there. So I think that's the big hurdle forward. Part of it is compensation. Compensation matters, and benefits matter. And many early childhood educators do not have access to a good benefit package, so that's let alone good salaries. So that's very much part of it. But recognition is also really important. To be recognized and valued as a professional. We need to professionalize early childhood education as a career, as an occupation.